a.m. when we cut the ribbon to open the 2020 Expo. Now here's a look at how NADA works for dealers throughout the year.
All right, back in the house, NADA 2020. Nice to see you guys. Hope you're doing all right out there, having a good afternoon. We have been rocking and rolling since early this morning. When we were here, 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. We're going all the way to 5 for the next 3 days, guys. Happy to have you here. This is just day 1 of 4. So we just had Marielle from LinkedIn come in, as a matter of fact, and give us some motivation about how to really spend some of those social media hours on something that might actually be beneficial to us rather than just getting some likes and some laughs, right? Some things that could actually grow the business. So next up, we're going to have three special gentlemen up here, as a matter of fact. This guy's super cool. I spent a lot of time, as a matter of fact, talking to Eric, so it's nice to introduce him. Most of our talks are over the phone, and today they're going to be on stage for a quick second, so that's excellent. So, by the way, I mean, you guys are, I would imagine that pretty much everyone here, I don't care what part of the business you're into, revenue streams. That's something that could all spark a bit of interest, right? Let that money flow. We're all looking for the revenue streams, and there's certainly different ways to get to those streams, and there's certain ways those streams can run dry. So we're going to have some experts talk about it. So why don't we bring them on out here to discuss that a little bit, and then if you guys have any questions, save it from the end, and we'll get them all answered for you. So let's do the official introduction from NADA, from ourselves, coming straight to you, the one, the other, Mr. Eric Hunsaker. Mr. Eric Hunsaker, he is from NADA, and he is bringing with him the Gile brothers. I'm not talking about from Street Fighter. I'm talking about the guys from Motorcars, Honda in Cleveland, and they're here to discuss revenue streams and help us make some money. Cheers, guys. Give them a round of applause, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Appreciate it.
Take it away. You got it. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. I'm Eric Hunsaker. I'm the Director of Video Production at NADA. If you've seen a video that we've produced in the past 5 years, you've participated in the messaging that we have at NADA. Right. One reason I wanted to chat with Trevor and Matt Gile from Motorcars Cleveland Honda and Motorcars Cleveland Toyota is because they came onto my radar when they were announced as the first carbon neutral dealership. And so we started talking about the modern dealership. And when I got into their stores, that's when I realized they were thinking outside the box. They were doing a lot of things that I didn't see in other dealerships. Now, full disclosure, I go to about 200 dealerships a year. So I've seen a lot of the sameness. And I got to these guys and I saw a bunch of difference. I'd like to introduce Trevor and Matt. Let's talk first about how you got on my radar. How did you guys become a carbon neutral dealership?
Sure. So I'd like to say we wanted to be green, but we had a parking garage that every winter was getting damaged from plowing. So we came up with the idea of putting solar panels to protect it. And then from there, we were able to look at our carbon footprint and realize we were pretty close on there. And so we started building a culture with our employees, and they started getting behind it and saying, you know what, let's see where we can take it. And we just kept on finding more and more things to do it. And it was amazing what it did to our employees. We started recruiting different people to want to work for us, like the younger generations.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of outreach to millennials, both as customers and as staff. Why don't you talk about that for a second, Matt?
Sure. I mean, we all know that millennials are the future, and trying to get millennials, they want to deal with other millennials. So it's a different way of hiring them. It's a different way of managing them. My brother said it best when you have to basically, they like the small titles. You know, it may not be a full management promotion, but if you give them the small titles and make them feel like they're growing with you, it becomes less about money and paychecks with them. It's the experience and feeling like they're really part of the team. So we've been fortunate enough, and with the being carbon neutral, that brought in a different caliber person. So we brought a lot of the younger people in that really had a passion and cared about the environment, and then you pair them with a customer on a hybrid, and it makes it a much easier sale and a more comfortable experience for the customer.
Yeah, I noticed that there. And one of the things, you guys had a position I'd never seen before. There was a guy down in the service area who would approach customers and basically say, hey, I see you're driving an 11-year-old car and you're about to have a $3,000 repair on it. You know, I crunched a couple numbers for you. Do you want to see what it would look like if you got a new car instead, or a pre-owned car?
Yes.
And I got to talking to this guy because I was like, I've never seen this position before. And he goes, you know what I feel here? I feel that I'm invested in this company and they're invested in me. You know, and I feel like you guys have sort of cracked a bit of a code there. But we're not here to talk about things that feel good. I figured out that, you know, I'm creatively driven, but if there's one thing I learned from Madonna, it's that it's a material world.
Sure.
And you guys have done a bunch of things, I noticed, to get new revenue streams that aren't selling cars and fixing cars. Tell me a little about.
So if you think about a dealership, we've had the fixed and then the variable departments for 100 years now. And there really has been nothing new to it, but we have thousands of people coming into our dealerships every single month. And so we kind of looked at it about 10 years ago. We just said, what other revenue streams can we capitalize on? We have these people. How can we help retain our customers, but also provide a benefit for our customers? And so we narrowed down to 5 businesses, and there's 3 that we stuck with. One we looked at is retail-facing car washes. We found that there's plenty of car washes out there, but we were spending $60,000 to $80,000 a year on free car washes we're given from service or car washes for life. And so we said, well, let's take that car wash model and move it off the property to our pre-owned lot that we had that we weren't using on there. And so we built an 85-foot or 80-foot tunnel on there and opened up to the public and branded it differently. But next thing you know, we're doing 140, 150,000 cars a year out of that wash, and it's only 30% of our customers. And now we're able to see those customers 3, 4, 5 times a month, as opposed to once or twice that we were seeing in service. And so we kind of took the car wash model, and then we even looked at the insurance agencies. We said, all right, well, when somebody comes in to buy a car, what do we have to do every time? We have to call and verify their insurance. So why can't we have somebody that would be an independent office that would be the delivery coordinator that would free the salesperson up to then go get the car ready, get the paperwork ready for finance, and then this person would politely talk to them and verify their insurance and say, oh, by the way, if you'd like to, I can offer you a home and auto quote on there. And it's something maybe 30% of the people go with it. But what we find is that it creates almost legal leg for finance, because now these people that close on the car, they're going into the finance office. So immediately it shot our PVR and finance up over a couple $100. And so once again, taking that database of people that we have and finding other revenue streams that we can provide benefits to help retain our customers and provide more benefits.
Wow, that's kind of amazing. Now, you're soft selling a little bit when you say car wash. I want everyone here to understand that these guys built something that looks like Rainforest Cafe, okay? And I talked to a couple customers, and this is a destination car wash. Tell me about this thing.
Sure. So we came up with the idea of, making it not seem like it was the dealership car wash, because we want to attract the public. So we called it the Rainforest Car Wash, and we have mechanical animals that move around inside. So we tried to make it fun for the kids, for the families that come, but more importantly, customers driving by know that they can come there. It's not, Matt Gile or Chuck Gile, car wash. It's, it's literally Rainforest Car Wash. So created that environment for them, and kind of like my brother said, we put it right on our used car lot, so it fit in well. And I guess kind of going back a step on one thing he didn't mention is the reason we put it there in the first place is we didn't want to get into the car wash business, but in the service department, we had the bottleneck where it was taking longer to have the valet take the car through the in-bay wash system in the store as it did to actually change the oil. So we had typically customers want to pick up their cars at the same time. So then you had a couple of valets lined up behind each other and nobody to greet the customer as they came in the service drive. So we moved the car wash off-site. We were able to then put service bays in the old car wash bay, and now we had solved our service problem. We're like, we didn't care if we made a penny with it because it solved our service problem. We gave the customers a sticker on their RO that they would scan at the car wash. So now the customers taking the car wash through, they're getting a better wash. They could upgrade if they want to do to other tire shines, waxes, that type of stuff. Or if it's rainy day like it is in Cleveland or snowy, they can come back and do it anytime that they like. So that kind of created this. We started with a problem similar to the greenness. So it's not always that we're these great thinking people. It's just be taking problems and just kind of lucked into some of this.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because I saw a Mercedes that looked like it was really clean. And so I said to the gentleman driving it, I said, does your car really need a wash? And he laughed right in my face. He goes, I've got the grandkids, and they're insisting on coming here, going through the car wash, and getting donuts. and I said, donuts? Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, so that was one of the other businesses we looked at is trying to capitalize. We felt like we had almost 350 employees, and we said, well, we might as well put something that they can go eat on there and then provide. We were doing the cookies and service, so we started making homemade donuts and opened it up to the public. It was right next to the rec center, so we did like a real high efficiency donut shop with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that from a car dealer. How many car dealers are out here today? If you're a car dealer, raise your hand. Right on. How many of you guys have donut shops? I'm just asking because I've seen some amazing things where people come to deliberately hang out at a Honda dealer, and good for you, for everyone who's doing that, who's creating an experience that people actually want to go to. But let's cut back to revenue streams. You told me about a tool you developed for rental car management.
Yeah, so it was kind of another thing. So we looked at what we were spending for rental cars, and it was right when the airbag recall happened for Honda. And we were always normally about 35, 40 cars we had in our fleet. And all of a sudden we went up to over 100 when Honda said they were going to pay for the loaner cars on there. And so at that point, it became a mess. Cars were everywhere. And there were certain answers that we wanted to have, and we didn't have it. So we just said, we'll just build it. And so we built it with a concept that we wanted to almost eliminate the rental car manager position and make it so easy that a service director could still do his job and be able to maintain the fleet size. But what it started to do is turn our fleet size down because we started uncovering the number of cars that were given away, or we created basically a report card for advisors so we could see if it's customer pay, warranty, internal, are they extending them past the time they should on there. And so our fleet went from 35, 40 cars down to 13 cars consistently. And so what that did is saved us over $70,000 to $80,000 the first year we did it, and consistently doing that. And then we started looking at it and say, all right, well, now that we have this, what other bottlenecks can we eliminate, or what other revenue streams could we capitalize on that? And we realized that the used car department had these cars, and they were only turning them every 11, 12 months. And so I sat down with the used car manager and talked to a couple other ones in our 20 group, and found that every other dealer was doing about the same time frame, and realized that the used car manager has so many jobs. One of the things is to appraise 35, 40 cars takes too long for them to do, and so we built a report that lets them know when to pull the vehicles out on there. And so it's just kind of finding ways where it makes it faster and easier for us, because I think a lot of the software out there is so complex, but it's a rental car department. It shouldn't be that complex. You just want your answers to be able to look at it. And then I found that we had cars that were sometimes not getting PDI'd and put in the rental fleet right away, and so I wanted to build something that was I call it the lot rot. So if a car is sitting there for a day or two, it lets you know that it's been sitting out too long, and then you're able to make sure you get it back in your fleet, so it makes it a lot more efficient.
Wow. Yeah. Now, I've noticed you guys, when you see a good idea in other industries, you are not, what's the word, shy from adapting. See, I'm an artist, so I can say steal. But you guys are not shy from adapting different ideas from different industries. Talk to me about how your dad, Chuck Gile, kind of the patriarch of your businesses, feels about that.
Sure. He always told us, I mean, ever since we started working the stores 20 years ago, that he's the greatest plagiarizer out there, and every good idea he has, he's stolen or borrowed from somebody else. So with everything we have, we really, like we said, we kind of took something that somebody else was doing, brought into ours, put our own little tweak on it. Even the car washing bit of it, that we saw somebody else had a theme wash. We thought that was neat. Brought in some of our processes that we do really well. The nice thing with car washing business is usually the operators out there, your typical mom and pop operators. So they're not really as good at marketers as your typical car dealer would be. So we got into an industry that had a great opening that also filled a need that we needed for the dealership. So again, we started stealing ideas from other places. We went to a guy that had a newer car wash. We said, all right, just build one like his. So put in our theme to it. His wash setup, made tweaks that we ended up finding out later down the road needed to be done right, and then started filling in with our customer database. So the other cool thing too is another thing that we kind of lucked into is that those customers that are coming off the street that didn't buy their car from us or didn't service with us, now we're able to hand out specials. So, we saw the big digital TVs in other industries, marketing to us. So we're like, why can't we do that for the car wash? So we started putting up sales and service specials on the billboard as they're pulling through the wash. So either they'll see it there, or we'll hand them a flyer as they're coming through. And now that's improving and increasing sales in the service department and sales department.
Okay, so just to be clear, when you say billboard, you're talking about like an 8K video screen, right?
Yes, so we have I think it's 65, 75-inch TV out there. So they pull in and, it's right in their face. They can't go anywhere. So it delivers the message.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, because I listened to Howard Schultz the other day, and he said, people don't want to just buy a product. They also want to believe that that product is somehow reflective of them and their ethos. Now, I know that you guys were doing liquid capture and reconstitution of fluids. Is that something that's an aspect with the car wash?
Sure, we took the same green initiative that we took at the Honda store, so we recycle the water. Again, we use an electric conveyor versus hydraulic, so it's energy efficient. About 40% of the water is reclaimed, so basically it's anything that's knocking the hard dirt off the car, underneath the car is reclaimed, and that's kind of how we came up with the rainforest, is we wanted to stay with that same green image that we had, for the city, for us, and employees, and customers like to feel like they're doing something good, without having to do any work to get it.
Yeah, I hear you. A lot of OEMs come and talk to us at NADA. Scott Keogh from VW told us that they'd invested heavily, I think $32 billion, he said, in electrification. And you can just see the shutters running through the room when he says EVs. Let's talk about helping dealers make that transition, because we know it's coming.
Yep.
And I'm the same way. I like things the way they are because I'm an old guy and I've always done them that way. But the thing I've noticed, to stay successful, to stay current, we've got to adapt to change. Let's talk about some of the challenges with EVs and you guys' approach to that.
Sure. So I think from the beginning, you look at, we had mechanics, then it became technicians, and I think it's going to turn more to an IT person that's going to be working on these cars, because you're working with electric as opposed to turning the wrench on there. So I think our employees are going to change, which means we're going to have to adapt that way. But there's still, if you mentioned this earlier, that no matter what, though, the main items you have to fix are your brakes, your tires, your rotors, and those are going to continue to be with electric vehicles. But we still have to find ways to offset that revenue stream, and more importantly, stay in front of that customer, because those service intervals can get further and further away. And so that's why we've got to find ways to bring them back in there, and that's what we kind of liked about the car wash model on there. So.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that in the past few years. So let's do a little drill.
Sure.
I just sat down next to you on plane. I'm a Ford dealer out in Ottumwa, Iowa, and I see that you're in the car business. You're way ahead of me. What should I be looking at? What should I be thinking about moving ahead, opening up new revenue streams in my dealership? Because down in Ottumwa, I don't know if you've been there, but it's pretty much, they're doing things the way they've always done them.
Sure. I think the biggest thing is looking at your database. You have this huge group of people. How can you utilize it? So every business wish they had as many customers as we do, and the fact that we don't see them all every single day like a food and beverage business. So you have to think, all right, how can I utilize the people that I have to maybe spawn off on these other little projects that can start bringing in some extra money? So the economy's been good for a while. Who knows whether it's going to continue that way? At some point, there's going to be a ripple. And do you have something else in your back pocket of bringing in some extra money so that when we hit those little potholes, that we can continue going and not have to worry or really think about our next paycheck from the dealership? So everybody's worried about profitability. Whether that's going to go up or down, who knows? But the more little pools and pots you have, the better. And I think it all starts with utilizing that database you have and trying to grow from it.
Yeah, I hear you. Trevor, how about you weigh in on this?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing we had to do was we had to learn. And we had to learn a lot from our own mistakes on there, especially in the car wash, because when we were doing the retail-facing car wash, there was less than 3% of dealers were doing retail-facing car washes to the public. And so we made a lot of mistakes, everything from what software to use for loading or paying on there. And so it cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars the first couple of years doing it. Then once we built our second one and our third one and now our fourth one, we've sped up the learning curve so much, and we learned that you get what you pay for. And so having the right partners and equipment is the most crucial thing to do. And same thing for any of the businesses we talked about is find somebody that's done it before, because being the first is very difficult and is very expensive on there. So I encourage you guys just to find people that have done it before and talk to them.
Yeah, I have a tattoo that says that, learn from the mistakes of others.
Yeah.
But you hit on something that I want to go back to a little bit, which is staying in front of people. How do we make that connection with somebody, especially if they're going to be coming in less and less frequently, it seems to me like we have to make more of an impact each time. How are you guys approaching that?
I think the big thing is for the service department is making sure you're going above and beyond. So we all know that service and parts is the main future. I think the used car department used to be the sexy bit of the business, and now we all realize, and we kind of used to put the parts and service department on the back burner, and now we realize that parts and service may not be as sexy, but it's where the money is. So making sure that customer has that experience that isn't like any place else. So that transaction time, we all know that people's time is more valuable than anything else. So making sure that they're getting in there as quickly as possible. We run 2-man oil change teams just to make sure that we get them through as quick as possible. Again, us eliminating the bottleneck with car wash was a big deal for us. We now have somebody in the service drive that can help pair customers' phones, go over any questions they have, and he's just kind of like a concierge gentleman that, because technology especially has changed so much that some of the, I won't say older folk, because I'm now bumping up into that range, can't figure everything out or can't remember it, and the cars are becoming so technologically advanced that having somebody that can help them, it's almost like, I think we stole the idea again from Apple, like your Apple Care person. You come in, ask questions, they help you fix or do anything. So it's not a technician, but it's somebody else that they still need to see. So creating little environments where they want to come back and you feel different than the typical either competitive dealership or really most dealerships are competing against the independents.
So now you're talking about user experience, which I've heard from a bunch of folks. Do you remember in restaurants, and first of all, you look great. Do you remember in restaurants when you never saw into the kitchen? And the kitchen was a place you didn't want to see. Yeah. We've had a revolution in kitchens where the kitchen is part of the dining experience. I've been to a bunch of dealerships, and I want to shout them out. I went to Porsche Colorado Springs, and this wasn't just a place to sell and service cars. This was basically a museum of automotive and technical beauty, style, and grace. And I went back into their service bay, and it looked like a gourmet kitchen. Shiny, gleaming surfaces, guys with headlamps, and just, great levels of certification, but also of pride and investiture in what they're doing. I'm starting to see that more and more. Let's sort of talk about, and I need to shout out Bob Atwood. Anyone know Bob Atwood?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. NADA instructor. He says, it's not the back end, it's the backbone of the auto dealership.
Sure. So our service department, when we were doing construction, we wanted to kind of eliminate the man behind the curtain. So there's no spot a customer can go or can't go in to see their car. And so their car is always visible for them. We put giant windows into the shop. We have an express lane where the customer could walk down and see their car getting worked on. But we feel like the transparency is so crucial for the customer to have that on there. I did hear a crazy thing. I was meeting with this dealer about a car wash that I was interested in. And while I was in there, the service director got pulled away because he had somebody from Goodyear that was asking for the keys for a car. And he's like, well, why are you looking for cars? We're a car dealership. You don't need keys. He's like, well, I have a customer that I need to change their tires, and I'm parked right over there. Well, Goodyear has a program right now for friends and family where they'll actually come to your place of business, change your tires, and rotate it. Well, this person's finance manager called Goodyear to pay to rotate their tires and change them out at the dealership. And so I think as we look at the future, we have to look at what our competitors are doing out there, the independents, and look at it and see how do we adapt it. And I think it's something in the next couple of years you're going to see more and more mobile servers pop up, or different vendors are going to be doing that. And so I think we're going to have to adapt to go more where the consumers are, as opposed to the consumers coming to us.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. They always say in marketing, go to where your audience is. And if you walk through an airport lately, you see everyone's on their phones. So if somebody can schedule something remotely, if we can bring it to them, that's clearly part of the future of business. And I don't want to say the E word, but Elon Musk figured that out a while back. And I compared you to him the last time we chatted, just because you like to look at things in different sort of ways, and you like to sort of shake things up. Like you said, you were the first one to get deep into car washes, and you, no pun intended, took a bath. Yeah. But now that's a huge revenue leader for you guys.
Yeah.
So how does one stay current as we move forward into the world of EVs and people on their phones? And you told me apps is a dirty word.
Yeah.
But in a way that we're improving the user experience. What comes next after donuts?
Well, more car washing for us. So we have 3 locations now. We're breaking ground on our 4th, and then we'll have our 5th and 6th location within the next year. So, but going back to one thing you said, though, is the education part of it. That was one thing that my father always preached and had us do. So even if we didn't attend NADA one year, we would always buy the CDs, and we always listen to them. All our managers would listen to them, and always studying. So it's always reading magazines. I think there's, the biggest thing we can do to not grow is to stop reading and learning more. So I guess that'd be the one piece of advice. Probably 100 other people give that to everybody, but you can't learn enough from other people, and nobody is the smartest person in the room. So look for somebody else to gain the knowledge.
Yeah, you're right about that. So if you're not moving forward, you're standing still. If you're standing still, you're moving backwards, right?
Correct.
Well, the Giles brothers are an awful lot of fun and very creative and modern and engaging, dynamic dealership group. Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask these guys? I'd be glad to walk around with the mic. Yes, sir.
They know who I am. So I'm with Chrysler, and we put on a 100% dedicated customer retention conference rather than just that. And I'd love to get to talk with you. You've taken all these things, and in an isolated way, each one is like a little silo, but it doesn't take and display the maybe needed emphasis that we don't sell cars, we service customers as a business. You know my line, you can't retain what you don't maintain. Mm-hmm. So if the service is defected from because we have no affection from the sales side, so it's either effective or defective, what are you doing to take all those assets and make them into one homogenized model that
Great
other
question.
dealers here at NADA
I actually just asked him.
can use?
Really great question.
Sure. I mean, we struggle with that just like anybody else, trying to get the sales department to integrate better with the service department. And we've tried everything in the book to get salespeople to bring the customers up to service. The smart ones will do it, introduce them to service advisors, schedule that first service appointment. It has become difficult. I guess typical auto standard, we find a way around salespeople not doing their job the right way. So for us, our business development center has been the key to re-engaging them back with the service department. And then, we've been fortunate enough, you guys are probably sick of us talking about it, but the car wash, it continues to bring those customers back on our lot on a weekly basis. So kind of between the two of them and having a really good service department, our service is open till 3 in the morning. So we try to be as convenient for customers as possible. So we throw everything at that experience, knowing that without, a good service business, like you said earlier, it's the backbone. We wouldn't be as successful as we have been.
I think you got to share your story too. I think that's the important thing. Is a lot of times we don't like to tell customers what we do well, and I think it's important that they hear if you're doing stuff in the community, or if you're doing something cutting edge, or you add benefits for them, because you can't assume that your employees are going to do as much as we'd like to. I think people like to hear from the owners, they like to hear from the general managers, and they like to see what direction you're going on there. And that was, I think, one of the things that we've seen when we're hiring people. My dad always taught us is like he interviewed every single person, whether it was a valet or it was a senior manager on there. But when we do that now, we say, all right, well, what do you know about our company? Do your research online, learn about us. So they're coming in, they've already embraced our culture, so it makes it a lot easier for them to adapt kind of the direction we're going. And then hiring within. The more you hire within, the faster the career path that people get on there, the more likely they're going to share your beliefs, and the consumers are going to see that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I told Trevor my grandfather was a Ford dealer out in Lawton, Oklahoma. And he told me early on, it's not the car business, it's the people business, to your point. Is there another question? We've got time for about one more question. Okay, well, I'd like to thank Trevor and Matt for coming out today to share their experiences and glimpses at the future. I'm Eric Hunsaker, video director at NADA, and we look forward to seeing you guys around this week.
Give it up for all 3 of them, ladies and gentlemen. Let's
Thank
go.
you.
Come on, well done. Let's go for the high five, gents. Well done, well done. We appreciate you. Thank you very much, Eric, as well. Appreciate you, all you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that session. I think kind of the cream that rises to the top out of the whole thing is, where's the gentleman that asked the question, first of all? Where is that person? He's already out of here? Oh, he's over there asking more. This guy's on fire. The whole deal is, this is true. You hear, there are all these silos. We have all these different departments, all these different processes inside of our dealerships, inside of our business, and they're all sitting there a lot of times just doing their own thing. And now we have all these opportunities for them to connect. And that's a really good thing, but that also means more work and more uncertainty, right? So, but more possibility. So that's what everything is here, is how do we make the connections with technology, bless you, with changes, with everything going on. So this is a great stage for that. It's a great place to hang out, just a great place to relax those feet a while after walking, 17 miles from your hotel or wherever you came from. So we're happy you guys are here. We are going to take our first official little bit of a break today, which means that we're not going to have anybody up here for like 25 minutes. I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to be so quiet out here. But enjoy yourselves, folks. We're going to be back on. 2 o'clock will be the official start. And we'll be talking about some different strategies for a seamless guest experience. And we're going to kick this afternoon off right. So we'll be seeing you guys. Feel free to hang out. If you guys are still hanging with us at home, we're living it up here in Viva Las Vegas. I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes or so. Cheers to you guys. NADA, let's go.